Okay, so let us try to see the first problem. So between A and then going to B. As given in the scenario, there are two options of bus. First one using X1, or you also can choose another bus X2. And also at the same times there are options for trains. If you don't want to go with bus, then there is option for train. First train P1, second train P2, and then there is the third train P3. So the questions, how many different ways you can choose to go from A to B? You can just simply count based on the scenario here. So we have 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5. So means there are 5 different ways you can choose to go from A to B. If you put it in a mathematical model, is 2 options from the bus plus 3 options from the train. So total is 5 different ways. This what we call as the rules of sum. Okay, this is what we call as rules of sum. Same also when you would like to move from B to C. So now from B to C. Based on the scenario, there are 3 options for bus. So first one, bus Y1, and then bus Y2, and then bus Y3. Instead of bus, you also can go with train, and for B to C there is only one option for train called Z1. So again, for many of different ways you can choose from B to C, we can count 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know already this number came from 3 from different bus and 1 option for train. So there is 4 different ways from B to C. This is also we call as the rules of sum. So we already answered the first questions and the second questions with the process of counting as just discussed. So for number 1 there are 5 different ways, and then for B there are 4 different ways, which we are using the rules of sum in them. Now the next one, from A to C now. So let me just draft in here A to C over here. But as the scenario given, you cannot reach C before reach B at the first place, like this. Okay, because that is the scenario given in the problem here. So going to going to A, from A to B, and then B to C. Now also from the data given, we already know from A to B there are 5 different ways. Okay, there are 5 different ways as we already discussed in here. So with 2 buses, and then there are 3 trains. This one P1, P2, P3, and for the bus just now X1, X2. So 5. And also based on the discussions earlier here, from B to C there are 4 options. 3 bus, name Y1, Y2, Y3, and then 1 train, which is Z1. So again 5 here and 4 here. So from A to C, how many different ways we can choose? Okay, I will put the possibility here. So from A to B and then B to C, which from A to C directly. So the first option, I will say X1, Y1. So meaning I use bus X1 from A to B, and then another bus Y1 from B to C. Another option, I can go X1, Y2. So meaning bus from A to B and bus again from B to C with different bus Y2. The first one we choose bus Y1, and the second option we choose bus Y2. And then another option, I can go with X1 and then another bus Y3. Another option, X1, instead of the bus I'll use the train Z1, continue from B to C. There is 4 different options already by just using one option from A to B, which is X1. Now if I decide to choose X2, bus X2 from A to B, so from A to B use bus X2. Now from B to C, I can make a same combination. I can go with Y1, or I can go with Y2, or I can go with Y3, or I can go with train Z1. So this is already another different combination. Or I decide to go using train from A to B. So the option after I reach B, there are another 4 different options. Use bus 2, use bus 3, or use the train instead. And another option, I'm using train P2 from A to B, and continuing from B to C, again I have another different 4 options. Bus number 1, bus number 2, bus number 3, or use the train. And the last option from A to B, that will be P3, train number 3. And again, after I reach B and going to C, there are 4 different options using bus number 1, bus number 2, bus number 3, or I use the train. Now as you see, this is all the possibility of alternative that I can choose. How many of them? So I have 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, 4 here. So if I total all, there will be 20 different ways going from A to C. Or in another fastest way to calculate, from A to B earlier, x1, x2, p1, p2, p3. There are 5 options, as also written down in here. And from B to C, either bus number 1, bus number 2, bus number 3, or the train. So it means 5 times 4. So I get 20, as also here. So this is what we call sums rules of product. There. So you get this one. First questions, how many different ways you can choose to go from A to B? We count the total of options in there. So it's the rules of sum. Also from B to C, we count the total option there. So it's the rules of sum. But when we have a combination from one place to another place and to another place again, now we are using rules of product. 5 different ways from A to B, and then 4 different ways from B to C. So the total A to C, that will be 20 as we count it here. In this case, we are using rules of product. And the process already been given here, how we end up with 20 different ways. Okay, let us take a look at another examples.